Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the lewdest anime to ever see the light of day. Number 30, Gushing Over Magical Girls. There's nothing wrong with having a little schoolyard crush on the magical girls that protect your town. Utena, however, goes a bit beyond average fan adoration. When she's granted magical powers of her own, she realizes she doesn't want to befriend the magical girls. She wants to torment them. Using all sorts of unspeakably inappropriate methods, Utena kidnaps and seduces the girls she once called her idols. Instead of a real plot, each episode feels like a 20-minute spotlight on something rude. So, despite its innocent-sounding name, you really don't want to be caught watching this one in public. Number 29, Golden Boy. Taking the award for thirstiest anime protagonist of all time, Kintaro is a listless guy who only has 3 things on his mind: girls, girls, and more girls.
Being a PA is tough, but hang in there.
Yes, ma'am! As such, all of Golden Boy's comedy revolves around how epically he fails at getting some. It's genuinely impressive how far they can push Kintaro's lustful proclivities without going up an age rating.
I shouldn't see!
In fact, there's really no way to describe how hilariously raunchy Golden Boy gets. You just have to see it for yourself. Be warned though, if you do decide to check it out, you'll never be able to look at toilets the same way again.
A pervert as well.
No, my queen, forgive me!
Number 28, KonoSuba, God's blessing on this wonderful world. Kazuma really lucked out reincarnating into this world. Here there's succubi, bathhouses, and aqua. KonoSuba isn't shy about flaunting what it's got, whether it be through suggestive dialogue or inspired character designs. Even if you don't pick up on it, Kazuma certainly will, usually with a well-timed joke. Now, to be fair, KonoSuba is a lot more than a vessel for fanservice. At its core, it's a hilarious fantasy romp full of quirky characters and clever plotting. It just so happens to have more than its fair share of promiscuous humor, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Number 27, Valkyrie Drive, Mermaid. In what might be the most inventive take on battle anime yet, these infected girls can transform into their own weapons of mass destruction. But only when they're, well, excited. Yeah, when they say love is a battlefield, odds are this isn't what they meant. As you can imagine, it's tricky to focus on the plot of Valkyrie Drive when the characters have to make out before each and every fight. And there is a lot of fighting. It's a smart way for the show to have its cake and eat it too. No matter if you're here for the red-blooded thrills or the kissing, Valkyrie Drive has you covered. Number 26, Peter Grill and the Philosopher's Time. Peter Grill is the complete package, funny, charming, and quite literally the strongest man in all the world. So he proposes to his beloved and lives happily ever after. Not. Peter's strength has attracted the wrong kind of attention, and now everyone and everything wants to make babies with him. That kind of premise is crazy enough on its own, let alone when you consider that even goblins, elves, and orcs want to get intimate with him too. Peter Grill and the Philosopher's Time is basically a never-ending round of speed dating where each contestant is steamier, crazier, and more excitable than the last. Number 25, Monster Musume. When an exchange program mixes up its addresses, Kimihito ends up with the busty girl Mia as an impromptu roommate. Oh yeah, and she's part snake.
っていうかミア、なんで僕のベッドに
Just roll with it. Monster Musume is easier that way. Turns out there's a lot of mythical creatures in need of room and board, and wouldn't you know it, Kimihito's house has a lot of spare bedrooms. In comes centaurs, mermaids, harpies, and more. The only real commonality is they all really want to get with Kimihito. There just isn't enough of him to go around, though that's not for a lack of trying. You've got to respect the fact that Monster Musume really goes there.
でもあんたのこと結構気に入ったよ。
Number 24, Kiss Sis. Moving in with your stepmom is always going to be an adjustment, especially when your new twin stepsisters think of you as more than just a brother.
あれ
For what it's worth, Keita thinks it's wrong, and he does everything he can to stymie their advances. Does it stop them though? Of course not. If anything, Ako and Riko take some kind of sick pleasure in making Keita squirm.
はい、召し上がれ。
They're persistent too, and spend just about every episode continuing their quest to get up close and personal. If you're wondering how it turns out, let's just say they don't call it Kiss Sis for nothing.
はい、そこまで。
Number 23, Super Hexeros. When aliens invade Earth hoping to wipe out humanity's reproductive system, a group of young heroes assemble to, well, get busy. Using feisty energy to power up their weapons, these Super Hexeros save the world and their drive all in the same day's work. That framework is pretty clear about the show's intentions, but if there's any doubt, one look at the team's skimpy outfits is enough to silence any naysayers.
星野、なんでお前の服まで
Not to mention that there's 4 girls to 1 guy. To put it into perspective, even the aliens are amazed at how raunchy these heroes are. Hey, at least they're doing it for a good cause.
やっぱこんなところいや。
Number 22, Freezing. An intergalactic fight for survival doesn't sound like it gives much breathing room for romance, but where there's a will, there's a way, and that way is freezing.
それ以上近寄るな。
Despite an ambitious sci-fi setup, this anime is much more interested in showing off its female characters from every different angle imaginable. So if you're into that, this is the show for you.
気をつけなさい、1年生。
Don't worry, there's a guy there too. His name is Kazuya, and he spends half of the time flirting and the other half in awkward positions. It sounds like a lot, that's just the kind of show Freezing is.
どうしたんですか
ちょっと慌ててしまって。
Number 21, Yuna and the Haunted Hot Springs. Hot springs aren't the only things steaming up around here. When homeless high schooler Kogarashi befriends a spirit named Yuna, sparks start flying there too.
すみません、私夢中になっちゃって。
Soon enough, Kogarashi becomes acquainted with all the female tenants at the hot springs. You can probably guess how they feel about him. The steamy setting means Yuna and the haunted hot springs has a lot of stripping and even more naughtiness.
ややが背中流してあげるの。
At a certain point, it's hard to tell if Kogarashi is actually trying to help Yuna or just sticking around for all the eye candy. Either way, it's clear that these hot springs are for guests 18 and up.
どうしたんだ私は。冬空木枯らしのことばかり気にかかって。
Number 20, To Loveru.
なんだお前は。私ララ。
Despite its name, there's more steam than romance in the air of this anime. Although at first glance, it doesn't seem to stray too far away from the normal harem setup. Rito is just an everyman high schooler who can't seem to get the attention of the opposite sex. So it's lucky for him when a scantily clad alien princess arrives on Earth and decides to marry him. From there, Rito falls into the center of a messy love square, complete with enough unintentional situations to last a lifetime. The sensual gags and frequent fan service aren't the end of it either. Let's just say these girls aren't afraid to really bear it all for Rito's affection.
キスして春菜ちゃんゆうきくん
Number 19, why the hell are you here, teacher?
彼氏になったらね
At this school, class isn't out of session when the bell rings. Instead, a few choice students get some up-close and personal after-school tutoring. Suffice it to say, it goes a bit beyond the district's recommended extracurriculars. Pretty much the whole show consists of gangly teen boys stumbling upon their teachers in increasingly compromising positions. Even more, there's a whole collection of students who can't seem to escape these awkward situations with their teachers. So, just when you think you reach the end of one seductive romance, a substitute teacher enrolls ready to start the cycle all over again.
そういうわけにはいかないお礼する
Number 18, so I can't play H.
いやー変態何なんですのお姉様のパートナー
Fair warning, there's plenty of overt fan service ahead, and even a few uncensored scenes here and there, but at least it all serves a genuine narrative purpose. In something of a literal deal with the devil, the Grim Reaper Lisara feeds off the energy of Ryosuke. As expected, he has quite a lot of it too. To be fair, there is a surprisingly in-depth story unfolding. However, since the villains are slimy tentacle monsters, you can imagine how most fights go down. All in all, So I Can't Play H definitely has a lot of NSFW moments, but at least it's not shy about it.
あれリサラじゃない
そういうことよ
Number 17, Uzaki-chan wants to hang out.
ところで2人はどこまで行ったのエッチなことした
Against all odds, the premise here is blissfully innocent. Hana simply wants to bring Shinichi out of his introverted shell, so they hang out, talk about life, and slowly develop romantic feelings for each other. But this is not a family-friendly rom-com, and most of that comes from its presentation. Namely that Hana is distractingly well endowed.
一人焼肉や一人回転寿司に匹敵するぼっちプレイの最たるものの一つじゃないですか
ちょっと一回黙れ
The show suggests a lot more than it actually shows, but the highly dedicated voice work still paints a clear enough picture. So despite its harmless setup, Uzaki-chan should only be watched with headphones. Number 16, how heavy are the dumbbells you lift?
おいソリュウ適当な理由つけてさっさと帰ろうぜ
For taking place in a gym, this show sure has a lot of eye candy. On its own, it's nothing new, but few anime out there deliver as many gratuitous camera angles as this one. But how heavy pulls it off because of its inventive setting. It justifies the shamelessly suggestive content with a heartfelt story about working out.
あれ綾香お前腹筋すげえな
あ、そうか別に大したトレーニングはしてないけどな
Sure, it's a show with quite a lot of dynamic stretching scenes, but it's an earnest one nonetheless. The series doesn't pick a lane either. There's something for just about anyone. Beefcakes, blondies, bosoms, and beyond. Plus, there's no shame in watching it, since it's all in the name of a good workout.
よっしゃじゃあ次はダッシュトレーニングでもするか
賛成
Number 15, do you love your mom and her two-hit multi-target attacks?
それじゃあお母さんも剣をお借りしようかしら
母さん
よいしょ
2本同時に抜いたじゃと
This show's title is kind of a trick question, because if Masato really loved his mother, he wouldn't let her get away with starring in an anime like this. In his defense, there's some other world where this is a charming slice of life about a mother and son reconnecting. But that's 100% not the case in this one.
よいしょっとこれからお母さんと一緒にたくさん冒険しましょうねマー君
なんだこれ
Instead, Mamoko's magic stat isn't the only thing absurdly large in this video game world. Her skimpy wardrobe only further accentuates her ridiculously busty features, especially since the plot routinely thrusts her into some rather questionable positions. When it comes to shows about families that aren't actually family friendly, this one takes the mother load.
マー君からのプレゼント大事にするわね
Number 14, Kill la Kill.
陣やっとカムイ準決
It may sound counterintuitive, but in order to suit up, these ladies have to drop true. Their overpowered kamui armor runs on their blood, meaning the sentient tech has to get real snug to activate. Except when it's finally set up, the quote-unquote armor doesn't actually cover that much at all.
陣に一体カムイ宣言夜明けの賛美歌
That, when paired with the show's slick animation, means it fully commits to the realistic physics of body parts in action. That's just Kill la Kill though. From its first opening credits to the final episode, it delivers both bloody action and unapologetic fanservice at the same time, usually in the very same scene.
マトイ一心が作った極性服を上回る力を持った服だ。桐生院サツキと対抗できるのはそれを着こなせる者だけだ。
あんた何者だ
Number 13, Makenki.
何すんだよ
The standard curriculum at Tenbi Academy includes mastering magical abilities, bonding with the staff, and fitting in as many gratuitous shots as possible. So it didn't take much convincing to get Takaru to enroll. Especially since the formerly all-girl school has a very favorable guy-to-gal ratio. That part becomes especially obvious when the whole student body lines up to get a piece of him.
大丈夫あるね
タケル久しぶり
As the childhood best friend, the edgy tsundere, and the hopeless romantic, all of whom spend about as much time out of uniform as in it. With all these, distractions, it's a wonder how anyone gets any schoolwork done at all.
ジャパンイズビューティフルや
誠絶景でございます
Number 12, Sekirei.
You saw it, didn't you?
What?
After a series of personal failures, the downtrodden Minato is left looking for a new direction in life. So when the mysterious and rather busty Musubi falls from the sky, he decides to help her unlock her magical abilities.
ありがとうございます
The only thing is that this contract isn't bound with a signature, it's sealed with a kiss. From there, the two compete against other Sekirei pairs, who, predictably, are just cute girls with similarly minimalist taste in clothes. The actual fights just feel like an excuse for the bulbous ladies to get up in each other's business. And given how many Sekirei there are, it tends to happen on a pretty regular basis too.
I've become reliant on the wind that blows from you. It's strong, but also pleasant.
Number 11, Monogatari Series. Koyomi's quest to help others afflicted by the supernatural is as honorable as it comes. After all, it's not his fault that most of them are single girls with a serious thing for white knights. Sure, he fits the bill a bit too well, but he does rebuke most of their advances. That hasn't stopped them from trying though, and occasionally Koyomi's services get repaid in some less than PG ways.
やべえ喘ぎ声にも似た彼の声を聞いてるとすげえ変な気持ちになる
But even if it didn't have any of those steamy moments, there'd still be plenty of sensual close-ups to go around. In fact, the series already filled 10 years of anime with its paranormal vulgarity, so there's no reason to believe it can't do it again someday.
あなたが荒木くんと付き合える理由が分かった気がする
Number 10, High School of the Dead. The dead aren't the only thing rising in this post-apocalyptic wasteland. Rather, it seems even amid zombie hordes, these characters still have their minds in other places. That's simply the only way to explain why they insist upon going through enemies without protecting themselves properly. Although, in a way, it makes sense that so much of the action focuses on the female characters. They do have a lot more assets to protect, and some of them are pretty big targets too. Honestly, it's just impressive that High School of the Dead made a zombie apocalypse feel like the tamest part of its concept.
生きている限り僕はお前に憧れ続けてやる。お前を最高の女だと信じ抜いてやる。だから死ぬな。
Number 9. Food Wars Shokugeki no Soma. This recipe skips the appetizers, throws out the main course, and goes straight to dessert, which in this case is a heaping serving of cheesecake. It's a steamy dish that gets served in almost every episode, and yet, critics haven't tired of the taste just yet.
噛み締めるたびにじっくり焼かれたベーコンの香ばしい肉汁がたっぷりと溢れてくる。
Maybe that's because the curvy chefs aren't even the biggest offenders of the show's salacious leanings. No, that honor belongs to its signature foodgasms, which come with vocal performances that could easily belong in a very different kind of adult animation. At a certain point, it's hard to tell what's steamier, the actual dishes or the reactions of those eating it.
締めと行こうぜ。そんなもんうまいに決まっとる。
Number 8. Heaven's Lost Property.
Oh no! It's a person! No, it's not a person. A person doesn't have wings!
Most harem protagonists would be content having a scantily clad angel at their beck and call. Not Tomoki though. When Ikaros falls from the sky, he decides to use the angel's powers for some downright sinful fantasies. Since the poor girl completely indulges Tomoki's actions, his naughty hijinks became about as important as the actual story at hand.
Sora, it's not what it looks like, I swear. I'm just trying to get this stupid chain off, look!
In fact, there may never be another anime where underwear plays such a pivotal role in the plot. The scary part is that Tomoki's desire for female undergarments is actually one of his tamer wishes. Clearly, she isn't the only thing lost around here. Tomoki's moral compass is also missing in action, and something tells us it might be gone for good.
Holy crap, you gotta help! What do I do with...
Number 7. How not to summon a demon lord.
これは痛い。 For someone who doesn't know how to act around women, Takuma sure found himself surrounded by a lot of them. And as if that didn't make him nervous enough, a mistaken summoning spell turned 2 of them into his sworn servants. As a result, there's a whole lot of mistakes going on, and you can't even blame it on Takuma's clumsiness. そちらのお話も伺いたいわね。
Rem and Shira are just kind of hard to miss. And yet, despite their clear sorcery afoot, there's no spell to save Takuma from having to get real handsy with some girls. Even if he doesn't care for it, he'll still come away from it with an expertise in female anatomy.
やばい。魔王だ。魔王ロープで威厳を保って途方堂々。
Number 6. Chivalry of a Failed Knight.
ちょっといつぞ。
覚悟なさい。あんたみたいな変態痴漢無礼の3アウト平民はこの私が直々に消し済みにしてあげるわ。
At the very least, this show wastes no time making its intention clear. In one of the very first scenes of the very first episode, a guy walks in on a girl changing and then proceeds to strip himself. Yes, there's an occasional hype fight scene and heartwarming moments, but the most memorable bits are seeing just how far Iki and Stella will take their relationship. Turns out it's pretty far.
いいえ、私が待てなかったのです。お兄様。
Without getting into too much graphic detail, there's a lot of skin, a lot of steam, and a scene in a log cabin that nearly goes all the way. Not quite what most of us would call chivalry, that's for sure.
お兄さん真面目なのね。でもそういうのも素敵。私も狙ってみちゃおうかな。
Number 5, The Testament of Sister New Devil.
再会からいきなりキスシーンってわけ？
いや、これは
成瀬さん。
Lewdness, check. Pretty girls, check. Lots of close calls, check, and also check. Oh, and to top it all off, the 3 main characters are all supernatural beings and step-siblings. Yeah, it's a bit staggering just how many boxes this one ticks. So when their father leaves the 3 leads unsupervised for months on end, it's no wonder things get very racy very fast.
誰にも奪わせたくないなら、もう一度ちゃんと私を奪って。バサラ？
None of it is glossed over with innuendo either. No, this is the kind of content that needs censor bars to air on broadcast TV. Although, even that probably wouldn't be enough to save this show from a hard R rating.
教師と生徒だぞ。
先生が嫌ならやめます。
ずるいな、お前は。
Number 4, Shimoneta, a boring world where the concept of dirty jokes doesn't exist.
さあ、健全で退屈な下ネタなんて概念が存在しないこの世界に別れを告げなさい。ここから先はとっても刺激的よ。
In a world where indulging in anything erotic is considered a capital crime, a group of enthusiasts decide to rebel in the only way they know how. Since they've been holding back for so long, they have quite a bit of pent-up energy to get out. In fact, the story goes out of its way to justify a never-ending slew of creatively bawdy set pieces. Shimoneta's commitment to the bit is admirable, but still, some of the stuff the show gets away with is pretty insane. It's full of untoward behavior that would earn you some stares, even if you weren't in an anime dystopia.
わかったぞ、お主ら。わしはあんなにこれを見出しておったのじゃ。書きたい。
Number 3, High School DD. This time around, the devil is actually in the details, mainly because there are a whole bunch of real ones flying around, and their school uniforms don't leave much to the imagination. There's not much in the way of censoring or tasteful framing either. Nope. The whole thing is on full display all day, every day. It's hard to say if more fabric would even help, since most of the gals end up blowing their clothes during fight scenes anyways. Sometimes because of battle damage, sometimes just for the heck of it. And don't even ask about Issei's powers. Let's just say he managed to turn the devilish circumstance into his own personal heaven.
部長。
いってらっしゃいのキスよ。何を考えているの？
Number 2, Interspecies Reviewers.
やはりエルフはみんな若くて綺麗で可愛くて最高だな。
Even the raunchiest anime acknowledge the thin line between explicit and gratuitous. Interspecies Reviewers doesn't just cross that line, it pretends it doesn't even exist. Sure, no one expected the exploits of succubi to be kid-friendly, but there is some mind-blowing stuff in these episodes. However, the biggest testament to its inappropriate content is that it barely saw the light of day.
可愛いは正義。
Its Japanese broadcast had to shuffle between networks just to finish airing its season. That's getting off easy compared to the English dub, which was cancelled after just one episode due to brand safety concerns. If that doesn't prove its spiciness, nothing will. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure to go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1, Prison School.
次また 外に出れたりとかって。
それはお前の働き次第だ。
Criminal justice has never been so, well, criminal.
Although since Kyoshi and his friends are gigantic masochists, this confinement isn't so bad for them.
So fittingly, their breakout attempts covered just about every obscene proclivity under the sun. There's leather, busty wardens, and some very inventive uses for crap in your pants, among so many others. See, the beauty of prison school isn't just that it's shamelessly lewd, but that it's erotic in some of the most ludicrously creative ways we've ever seen in anime, or really, fiction at all. By the time all is said and done, you'll feel like you belong behind bars too, just for watching.
What's the raunchiest anime you've ever seen? Let us know in those comments below. Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.